Hi guys, welcome to this video on the reasonably confusing phrase I have been in English and what that will become in French. This was a video that I was asked to do by two people in the same week, so one was Molly and one was Nina. So both very capable. So let's talk about the different complications. So first things first, when you use I have been with the verb following it in the ing form, in the gerund form, let's just be really clear. You do not use the verb to be before an ing in French unless that ing is an adjective. I will say that again. We do not use the verb to be before an ing, in French, unless the verb is an adjective. So for example, Luke is speaking. Luc parle. It's the same as Luke speaks. I am going, je vais. Yeah, there's no je suis allant or anything like that, okay? Same in the was tense, Luke was dancing, Luc dansait. Yeah, no, you will never use the verb to be followed by an ing. So for example, I have been studying is a tense which exists in English which we do not have in French. So you would need to make a choice between recently I have studied, so you go with the passé composé, so j'ai étudié, or j'étudie, at the moment I'm studying, because it kind of falls into that recent place, doesn't it? It's sort of very, very recent. I've been using, your hair looks lovely, Luke. Oh yes, I've been using whatever. My hair doesn't look particularly lovely. So I've been using whatever. So you could say at the moment I'm using j'utilise. So that's the first thing, be very mindful. So if you find yourself saying, oh, he has been working, where's Luke? Oh, he's been working. Il a travaillé, he's worked, il a travaillé, or il travaille. You can obviously make it sound more recent with phrases like, this week, cette semaine, or récemment, recently, but just be aware that you can't use the verb to be in any tense followed by an ing as a phrase. It needs to only be with an adjective, which brings me on to my next one. So I have been I am tiring. I was tiring, meaning I make the kids tired or whatever, so je suis fatigant. So rather than I am tired, so in theory you can do that. I'm very motivating, je suis motivant. I have been motivating. If you meant it weirdly as in recently I've been very motivating for this group, but now I'm going to stop doing that. Fine, that's fine. But you can't say recently I have been motivating the group. You cannot use it as a verb. Is that completely clear? Next up, if you are using I have been as, let's be very clear that I have been and I went are often the same concept. So have you been to Paris? Yes, I have been. It often means have you ever, in English, have you ever been? And that is one of the uses of the have in English, because we obviously have this beautiful past tense with no auxiliary. So I went, I danced, I smoked? Why is that coming to mind? And obviously in French that will always need to be, j'ai fumé, j'ai mangé, whatever. You would need an auxiliary. So in English, people say, well, when do we use the have in English, Luke? We use the have if you are talking about something over your entire life or something very recently. So for example, last week I met 3 lovely women in Shropshire visiting my friend Wendy and her husband Jim, who's also my friend. If I said, in my life I have met many Chinese people or something, that we're using the I have in English to talk about my whole life experience. Or this morning I have met. If you were talking about last week, you would just say I met. And both of those in French would be the same. J'ai rencontré, je suis allé. They would use the tense with the auxiliary. So in other words, when you ask someone, have you been to Paris? It either means, have you been to Paris this week, as in recently, or ever, have you ever done this? So when I teach English, I use this hand signal. So the verb with the auxiliary, with the have, is either very close or over your whole life. Very close or over your whole life. So I have been, j'ai été. So have you been to Paris? Tu as été à Paris? Tu as jamais été à Paris? Or, oh, this week, have you been to Paris? did you go? Yeah, have you been to Paris this week? Fine, but it more often will be did you go? Tu es allé? Je suis allé? Oui, je suis allé. Oui, j'y suis allé. Yeah, so just be mindful of the combination between I have been, which is from the verb to be. People always try and use allé. Yeah. Next complication. The verb to be in its past tense, as we've already heard, is j'ai été. E acute, T, E acute, which rhymes, which sounds identical to été, as in j'étais, tu étais, il était, nous étions, vous étiez, ils étaient, which is the imperfect tense. So be very clear on that for a start. So in other words, don't forget that that tense exists. Some people are so obsessed with j'étais, yeah, in the was tense. Can I just take a side note to say we do not use j'étais in the was tense unless we are talking purely and exclusively about the verb to be. So that would mean if you can use your phrase followed by an adjective or a geographical statement, or so for example, I am happy, I was happy, adjective, I am in London, I was in Paris. Fine, I was dancing. Same as I said at the beginning, you will not have I was plus an ing in French with the verb to be. So I was dancing, je dansais. So having established the difference between j'ai été and je suis and j'étais, so what are the uses of I have been? So if you said I have been told, that is a passive construction. So if you said I have been and then the past tense of another verb, I've been advised, I've been massaged, I've been misinformed, I've been duped in English, duped. I've been misled, I've been informed, we've done that one, I've been advised, we've done that one. So notice that the advising, the duping, the misleading, the whatever, the massaging is being done by someone else. So it's a passive. So you might be tempted to say j'ai été renseigné, informed, or conseillé, or whatever, but it's better French to say somebody advised me, on m'a conseillé, or ils m'ont. So I have been operated on, they operated on me, ils m'ont opéré. I have been advised, on m'a conseillé, ils m'ont conseillé, they advised me. So one of the best ways of dealing with the passive in French for people is to make it active. That means start the sentence with the person who's doing the verb. Okay? What other been things have we got? I have been living in France for 10 years. That's a very common error. So things that you still do in French, things that you are still doing, will most of the time go into the present tense in French. So instead of saying I have lived in France, which is, this, I suppose, effectively an alternative to I have been living in France, you don't say j'ai habité. You know, it's better to say j'habite en France, okay, depuis 10 ans. Yeah? Or ça fait 10 ans que j'habite en France. So we try and use the because just to the French brain, it's curious. It's why would it go in the past? You are still there. So it's sort of like saying, well, I live in France since 10 years ago. That's kind of how it would work in French. If it's a negative been, let's do another one of those ones. So I've been smoking for 5 years. I don't know where the smoking thing is coming from. I despise smoking. I'm sorry if you're a smoker, but quit. Yeah. I've been smoking for 5 years. Where's the smoking thing coming from? Je fume depuis 5 ans. Ça fait 5 ans que je fume. Yeah, we'd use the present tense, all right? What other questions did Nina actually ask in her email? I don't think I've got Molly's anymore. Let's have a little look. Video suggestion. Hi Luke, I hope you're having a nice Sunday. I find myself getting tripped up with the phrase have been, as in I have been studying French for 2 years. It's very tempting for me, and probably others, to start the phrase with j'ai été. I do know that you should use the present tense with depuis to indicate an action that started in the past and is still ongoing. Good girl, Nina, nice job. J'étudie le français depuis 2 ans, but it's still tempting to use j'ai été. So I think one of the ways of solving that for a start is just to remember that you won't ever use the verb to be with an ing form anyway. What is an ing? An a, n and a t. That's the gerund, that's the continuous form of the verb. So you might use it in French sometimes. So in speaking with Luc, I discovered he likes to ride horses. En parlant avec Luc, j'ai découvert qu'il aime bien faire du cheval. Or you could use it with an adjective. Luc is motivating. Luc est motivant. Or where else would we use an ant as an adjective? Yeah, as like I've said. But the main times you don't use it. So, for example, after speaking with Luc, après avoir parlé. Before speaking with Luc, avant de parler. So we'd use the infinitive there. We don't use the ing form as much as we do in English. So, in overview then, let's just wrap up some of the things that we've said and do some examples. So, I have been making YouTube videos for, what, 5 years? 4 years. Ça fait 4 ans que je produis, que je fais des vidéos sur YouTube. Je fais des vidéos sur YouTube, enfin, depuis 5 ans, because I'm still doing it. I have been told that they are very useful. On m'a dit, someone has told me, on m'a dit qu'elles sont très utiles. Feminine videos. I've been to America many times. Je suis allé aux États-Unis, enfin beaucoup de fois, plusieurs fois. This week I have been eating too much. Cette semaine, j'ai trop mangé ou je mange trop. If the week is still kind of ongoing. If you want another little trick to use I have been doing something, you can keep j'ai été, then you follow it with the phrase en train de, E-N-T-R-A-I-N-D-E, and that will be followed by an infinitive. If any of you perish the thought ever can't create your imperfect in time, then that is a good thing to have. So for example, I was dancing, I was in the process of dancing, j'étais en train de danser. So for example, this week I've been working, cette semaine j'étais en train de travailler, but don't let it become a tick. It's really more of a, I can't talk now, I'm in the middle of doing this, je suis en train de, okay? But that is something to do. I have been lied to, on m'a menti, ils m'ont menti, they lied to me. So yeah, so in other words, in overview we are saying we do not use the verb to be with an ing in to form verbs. We can use the verb to be with an ing as an adjective. If we are talking about moments in time where we are still doing something, we will largely go in the present. Occasionally, if it's in the past, you know, like I haven't been to Paris in whatever, you know, je suis pas allé à Paris, enfin, depuis longtemps, you know, or ça fait longtemps que je suis pas allé à Paris. You can use the past if it's up until that point, but you've just changed that fact. But that's a different video. Yeah, I hope this has been useful. Good. Anything else I can think of? If there's anything else, I will just do a little extension video underneath. If there's any other I have been problems that emerge for you, just let me know. Just write underneath. I have been. No, I think we've covered. I mean, you can use I have been. You know, I have been very patient with you. J'ai été très patient avec vous. Of course you can. I'm on about times when you use I have been in English and you don't need to do that in the same way in French. So if this video has been useful for you, Molly and Nina, and other people, by all means, remember me on coffee. Yeah, it's a system you can treat me to a coffee. I do drink it, let me assure you. And I will speak to you guys soon. And also to remind those of you based in the UK or who are willing to travel, we have our picnic on July the 13th, which is when everybody's coming together, speaking loads of English, loads of French. You don't need to speak any French if you just want to start your French learning journey. We will just sit around talking about how you do it, what your sort of plan should be, and what your structure should be. Okay guys, speak to you soon. Best wishes, loads of love.